Hello, so something a little bit different today. This is a project I've been working on for quite a while with the intention of really trying to push the limits of Excel. I've always loved the Football Manager series and even back when it was Championship Manager. And for anyone who's played those games, they'll know that generally they are pretty much a spreadsheet. And I wanted to take the best bits, some of my favourite bits of some of my favourite versions of those games, and just see how close we could get in Excel to recreating it. This version does not have everything. It has a good set of features, but it is very much a demo. It's something that ideally I'd like people to download and have a go with and give me feedback to say what works, what doesn't, and what you would like to see next. So in this video, I'm going to do a very quick demo of its features, play through a couple of games, and then I'll tell you how you can get it set up to have a go yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so when you open up the file, this is what you'll be greeted with, the home page. One thing to tell you to start with, there's a little admin mode checkbox up here. You'll see at the moment, we can see all the column headers, all the tabs, and turning off admin mode just gets rid of those. Makes everything look a little bit neater. For the purposes of this demo, I'm going to leave those on, but feel free to turn those off if you'd like to. I've also got the menu bar at the top minimized. If you're not sure how to minimize that, if you double click on any of the tabs, it will maximize or minimize it. And if you have got it minimized, a single click will let you get to the menu bar itself, and a single click will put it back. So when you first start the game, it'll ask you to input your first and last name. So we'll just go with Excel and chill. And it'll also ask you to make a team selection. Now at the moment, only England is enabled and only down to League 2 teams are enabled. Now you'll have already noticed that the list of Premier League teams here is not based on the current day. And that is because I've based this game on the 2001-2002 dataset from Championship Manager 01-02. It's probably my favourite version of the game, and you'll see nods to both that and even older versions of the game, as well as trying to keep things up to date, all rolled into this version. So we can click through the various leagues, the different teams will appear. For the purposes of this demo, let's just go for United, and then we hit Start Game. You get the message that it's processing players, setting the admin options, creating the fixtures, and then it will give you this pop-up, which will just let you do a kind of an auto-save or a first save to be able to create a new file so that if you ever want to start a new game, you can just easily go back to the original file to do so. Okay, so talking you through this main screen, this is your home screen. And as I said, there's nods back to previous versions of Football Manager and Championship Manager. This is much more based towards the very old versions of Championship Manager 2. So like 97, 98. The reason I chose this UI to do it is because this lends itself much more easily within Excel to adding and removing things and keeping a consistent homepage. If we had a side dashboard view, that gets a lot more complicated. So on the top bar at the top here, you'll see we've got the current date, 28th of July 2001. It's 14 days before the start of the new season. This just tells you your next match, who it's against, and whether you are home or away, so we're playing Blackburn away. And in the top right-hand corner is the position in the league table that you currently are. Obviously, that's just alphabetized at the moment. And you'll notice as we hover over that, the cursor changes to the finger to show that this is clickable. And if we click onto that, we can see the full league table. We can also go up and down the leagues using these buttons. And as I say, everything is just in alphabetical order at the moment. The other thing you can do on here is you can double click any team to view their whole squad. So if we double click Chelsea, you'll see we've got the full Chelsea squad list. And I'll talk about this in a second when we look at our own team. So if we go back to this page, the next thing we've got is the inbox and the number of unread items showing. So if we click onto the inbox, we've just got one news item to say, okay, United have made a shock new appointment. These will populate as and when news items come in. Again, there's not loads of news items. It will mainly be around things like any transfers that you're making and end of league, start of season messages. I'll leave the squad for a second. Let's just have a look at finances and board. This currently just shows you your overall transfer budget, your weekly wage budget, and how much of that wage budget you have got remaining. You can also use these buttons to rebalance the transfer budget and the wage budget. So if you want to take some funds out of your transfer budget so you can pay higher wages, you can click these buttons to move a small amount or a large amount in. You'll notice that moving, for example, 100k out of your transfer budget does not move 100k into your wage budget, and that's because this is a weekly wage budget. So when we move 100k, we're moving 100k of yearly budget into the weekly wage budget. Coming back out, the options screen down here, this just lets you either go on holiday, so this will play through games without you having to click anything, and we've got the option to reset the game. That'll just take you back to the home screen, so you could start a new game if you don't have that original file. Okay, so the grey items here are things that just are not in the game yet. So let's now look at squad. So here we can see our United squad. Each player is listed with their position. Everyone's just either goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, or attacker. We've got an ability and a potential ability. These are both out of 100 at the moment. And as you can see, you can see everything right now. Realistically, potential should be probably more of a hidden or at least disguised attribute. And maybe ability should be as well. But at the moment, they're just both visible. And that's as far as the player ratings go. There's no individual ratings at the moment underneath those. We've also got contract expiries, the person's wage, their value, their condition, their match condition, and what nation they're from. And on the right hand side, we've got sorting options. By default, this is sorted by ability, but you can select to sort by anything you want to. So we could say, okay, age, ascending, and we'd get the youngest players first. Now there are two different views to the team. We can either have the team view or the tactics view. If we click into tactics, this is where we could switch around our tactics and play rather than a 4-4-2, a 4-5-1 or a 3-4-3, whatever it was that we wanted to play. We can select our players on this screen. So if we click into a player, we can select someone. Or alternatively, what we can do is go to the team view. We can select players here from our drop down, but what I like to do normally is use this quick pick. Here, this will put together your best 11 based on the formation that you've selected. Player abilities will increase towards someone's potential across the course of a season. It's influenced by a number of things like if they're playing games or not, how old they are. Younger players will develop quicker than older players, and once players get to a certain age, they will then start declining away from that potential instead of working towards it. Okay, so that just leaves one option on here that we've not explored yet, the player search and transfers. By default, this will show all of the players in the game with their ability and their potential. You can see, for quick reference, we've got our transfer budget and our wage budget up at the top here. And we can also filter the players. So if we're looking for a certain position, a certain ability, if we want an age range or a wage range or a value, we can click any of those to limit the search results that we see here. Okay, so let's say we want to make a bid for someone. Let's have a look. Maybe we'll try and get Ronaldinho. So as you click on a player, you'll notice on the left-hand side, the Make Offer button appears. And once we click into that, we can put a bid in, either by using the plus or minus buttons, or if you click into this, you could type a bid. So if we would say, okay, 25 million, press the update and make offer. Offer submitted, PSG will get back to you. Now, the one other thing we've not looked at is if we go back to our squad, the actual interactions with the players. So let's say we needed to get a bit of extra cash and we're going to try and cash in on Nicky Butt. Again, as you click onto the player, you'll notice the 3 ellipses option menu. And as we click onto that, there are a few options. So we can offer him a new contract, we can release him on a free, or we can transfer list him. Obviously, in this case, we want to be able to transfer list. And we can just say yes or no. The only functionality for transfer listing at the moment is that it transfer lists the player at the current price. There's no way to increase or decrease what price you want to list a player for. Okay, so let's come out of this, and now let's hit the continue button. This will advance the days continuously, either until your next game or until you've got a news item that comes in. If you want to interrupt it quicker than that, if it's in the loading phase, you can also just click on the screen whenever you see the finger icon come, and that will pause the game. So now we've got 4 new inbox items. One of them is the offer rejected for Ronaldinho. It said, okay, we're way off. We'd then expect 44.9 million to be more realistic. So we'll ignore that. Offer for Nicky Butt. We've got 3 offers in: West Ham, Leeds and Villa. So I'm just going to accept all of those. And then, because I want to show how the transfers work, let's just try and sign a more realistic player. So let's come down a little bit. Who can we actually afford easily? I mean, we could get a 35-year-old Gianfranco Zola. Let's try and sign him. So let's put in a bit of, I don't know, 7 million just to make sure we're good. Okay, Chelsea will get back to us. Again, we'll continue. And as soon as we've got news items in, this will pop up. So Nicky Butt has accepted the contract from Villa. So we can now either cancel the transfer or confirm it. And here we'll confirm it. And we've also had the Zola offer accepted. So we'll go to contract offer. Now here, this works the same as making a transfer offer. So you can use the plus or minus to go up or down. Or you can also click to enter a custom amount if you wanted to. We'll just offer him what he wants. So we'll say make offer, and Zola will get back to us. And then the final news item now that's come in is that Villa have completed the signing of Nicky Butt. So if we now go back to our finances, we'll see that our transfer budget has jumped by that transfer amount that we got in for Nicky Butt. Our available wage budget will have also gone up because Nicky Butt's wages are now off our wage bill. So one more continue, and we'll try and complete this signing before we get to a game. So we can now either cancel or confirm the transfer. We'll confirm it, and Gianfranco Zola has signed. Okay, I'm just going to continue now, and I'm going to let this run. You'll see processing going on every single day. Some days it will take a little longer than others to tick over, depending on what processing is going on in the background. But we can see we've got Blackburn today. So now when we hit continue, it's going to take us to the fixtures screen. Obviously you can see that we're away to Blackburn, and down each side we've got the current positions for each of the teams. If we continue now and move to the match screen, what I'm going to do is go to the tactics view, and let's put us in a different formation. I just want to show you a couple of different things here. So if we move to the 3-4-3, you can see that a couple of positions have been highlighted, and that's where we've got players playing out of position. So we've got Gary Neville, a defender, playing in midfield, and Paul Scholes, a midfielder, playing in attack. Now, these players can play out of position. They will just take a bit of a hit to their ability. So Gary Neville in midfield will no longer be a 78. He'll be somewhat depleted from that. That works the same with condition. If someone's not at 100% and throughout the match, as they go down from 100%, they'll start to not be able to hit this top ability. What I'm going to do is go back to the team view though and click quick pick, so that then that re-picks our team based on these positions. Now, one thing I've not mentioned yet is that the position within midfield or attack or defence does not matter. So the fact that we've got Roy Keane on the right hand side of midfield and Giggs through the middle does not make any difference to their current ability currently in the game. Ryan Giggs will be a 92 whether he plays in the centre or he plays on the left. That's probably something we need to look at in a future update, but for now, to keep things simple, a midfielder can play anywhere across the midfield, same with attackers and defenders in their respective positions. Now, at the top of the screen here, we've got go to match or instant result. For this first one, we'll do go to match so we can see the full match engine and process in play. Okay, so this is the match screen, 2 buttons, kickoff and tactics. We'll hit kickoff, and I'll explain as we go along how this is working. You can see at the bottom the pitch is split into thirds, and the colour in each of the thirds represents who has possession. And you can see as we've gone to the attacking third there, we've scored a goal. It also checks how many shots you've had and what the possession is throughout the game. Now we've got to half time. I'm going to go across to the tactics screen. Here we could switch formations. We can also make any subs that we want to. For now, I don't think we need to do that, so we'll just come back and kick off the second half. At any point, you can hit the tactics button or pause and hit tactics. It doesn't matter which way you do that around. It will pause the game either way. And then you can start making substitutions. So perhaps here we want to bring Bex on in the middle, and we'll take Fallen off. We've not got another attacker to bring on, but I'm going to bring on Zola. He'll play out of position. He won't be quite as good as he should be. But let's hit confirm, and let's resume the game. This part of the UI has obviously been based on the old school Championship Manager games, even with the flashing text and just the overall layout. Okay, so good 2-0 win. We'll hit continue now. And this menu bar will load that's playing the rest of the games in the background. So now we have a full set of results, and we can see if we click on the Premier League, we can see how that all stacks up. The other leagues I think will have played 2 games by now yet, and we can look through all those standings. So as we hit continue, this will now take us back to our home screen, and the game will now progress on as normal. Now let's play through one more week just so I can show you the instant result. It works in almost exactly the same way as when you're completing a match. So once we come through to our fixtures and then our team selection, we've got the team selected that we want. Everyone's now back to 100%. People will gain percentage every day that they're not playing a game as part of their recovery. And this time, instead of clicking go to match, we'll hit instant result. This time we'll just get the loading bar back on the fixture screen, and once it gets to 100%, we'll have all our results in. Now for the rest of this season, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the holiday mode so that we can get to the end of the season. You can see how that works as this is running through. So I'm just going to go options and then go on holiday. And as before, you can interrupt this at any point by clicking the button to, again, interrupt the gameplay. But as this is happening, and I'll speed the video up in the background, I just want to go through some of the other limitations with this version of the game currently. It only has league fixtures in, so there's no kind of cup competition or European competition at the moment. And the other big thing that's lacking right now is the ability to be able to upgrade your training facilities and your youth facilities. So each team has a youth and training facility out of 20. And these are hard-coded at the start of the game, so a team like Manchester United will have a very high rating for both, whereas a lower league team will have a much lower rating. This dictates how quickly your players improve, so that's the training rating. The youth rating dictates how likely it is that you're going to get a high potential player through in your youth intake, which happens at the end of the season. So one of the very next things to do will be to unlock the ability to be able to upgrade training and upgrade your youth recruitment. That will obviously be done through the finances and board screen, or at least the money will come out of your overall transfer or wage budget to pay for those. And I feel that will unlock a much more progressive way of being able to bring through younger wonder kids, even if you start off as a lower league team. As I said before, I'm speeding this process up now. You'll see the days are moving on quite quickly. In general, at a normal speed, a season on holiday takes between 5 and 10 minutes to process, depending on your computer. But yeah, I'm just speeding this up so we can get through and we can see what happens at the end of the league season and the start of a new season. Okay, so we've got to the 1st of July, end of the season. You can see we are first in the Premier League. Absolutely smashed it, which is unsurprising. United are one of the best starting teams. If you think back to that 2001-2002 era, they did have some great players. So if we just look at our news items, we do get a news item just saying Manchester United finished first in the Premier League and you've been awarded £20 million. You also get notices about the contract expiries of players. So David May currently has an expiring contract. What we can do is go in and look at him and offer him a contract. However, if we leave that, the player will just leave the club. Now, David May is not even in the substitutes here, so I'm just going to leave that and kind of let that get on as it does. I'm going to hit continue, and it'll be now commencing a new season. So when you go on holiday, if you let it play through a whole season, it will come back at the very end of the season, and then it will force you to carry on until you hit go on holiday again. Just because of that rollover, obviously there's news items coming in. So if we now take a look, this is the start of the new season. You can see the Premier League has reset. We're 14th at the moment, having played no games. There's a TV rights deal where we get £12 million, and we also see our youth intake. We get 4 new youth players, and each season you'll get a goalkeeper, a defender, a midfielder, and an attacker. And we can take a quick look at those guys. So we've got Gianluca Bon, Richie Lexa, Krasimir Molinar, and Brian Pugh. So let's have a look. You can see them here at the bottom. So this guy obviously is Krasimir, 18 current ability but 90 potential, so high potential ability. And who else did we have? Brian Pugh up here, doesn't look awful. Gianluca Bon doesn't look great. Richie Lexa. I mean, he looks like quite a player. Already 62 ability, 89 potential, 16. And you can see these transfer values are kind of like dynamically generated. So because he's very young, has a high potential, and he's already quite good, he's already valued at 8 million by the game. Okay, so I think that pretty much concludes the little demo. I think we've gone over pretty much everything that you can currently do in the game. Obviously, there have been promotions and relegations from the Premier League. We didn't have a look who went down and who came up, but certainly that happens every season. I think at the moment it doesn't happen at the bottom of League 2 because the conference is not yet active, so there's no relegation from there. But for all the other leagues, there is promotion and relegation as standard. There are no playoffs in the lower leagues. It's literally just the top 3 or top 4, depending on the league, that go up, rather than have the logic in there to do playoffs. Again, that will be something that will have to come in a later update. So there's a link to download this in the description. As I say, it's a very early version of this, so there may well be bugs in it. Please give me a shout if you come across any. I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. And as well, all the code is available. So if you go to the developer tab, hit Visual Basic, everything that makes the game run is here. So you can see in the modules, we've got a lot of different modules, and each one of these has, a lot of different parts of the code in. I've commented it where possible. I've done my best with some of these, but some have been kind of put together a little bit quickly, so they may not completely make sense. If there are any kind of functions or things that you've seen in the file that you'd particularly like to go over and know how it's done, I can put together more videos to look at more of the how-to and the back-end side of things. But partly I wanted this to be a showcase of what you can do in Excel and how much you can actually get out of it compared to what you would normally think you could do in a standard spreadsheet. As I said, there's a link to download this in the description. It will only work in Excel, not in Google Sheets, because obviously it's all based on macros, and that has to be done in Excel, and it has to be done in Excel in desktop mode. You couldn't open this in Excel, in the browser. It wouldn't work. So when you download the file, one thing you will have to watch out for is that you'll need to make sure that you can enable macros within the file when you open it. So once you've downloaded, if you go to your downloads folder, you'll have the file here what you'll need to do is if you right click and go to properties, you'll see at the bottom here there is a security message to say it came from another computer, might be blocked to help protect this computer. If you just click unblock and then apply, then once you open this, you'll be able to enable macros. So you may get a message like this to say enable, disable. You can hit enable here. Sometimes you'll get a banner at the top that says macros are currently disabled, and there'll be a button to enable it. So as long as you get one of those messages, then you'll be able to play the game. If you don't have macros enabled, the game itself won't work. There are a couple of other things that you may need to change in Excel to make sure this is working properly. One is Copilot. So if you go to Files and Options, under the Copilot option, just make sure that this isn't enabled. The problem is every time Excel tries to do a calculation, Copilot ends up popping up and it makes the processing speed extremely slow. So you'll just want to have this turned off. The other thing that's always good to check on these kind of files is when using multiple displays, which I'm at the moment, make sure you've got it ticked as optimized for compatibility rather than best appearance. Sometimes if it's for best appearance, you'll get things not working quite perfectly, as it won't be able to calculate exactly where things are on the screen. So that's the only other option I'd recommend you switch. So that's it. The file's in the description. It's completely free download. You don't need to sign up for anything. You just click on the link. That'll take you to the folder and you can download the file. There is also a link down below to sign up to get the rest of my Excel files that I've been over previously. So if you're interested in those, please sign up. Any comments you've got, feedback is very welcome. And if you'd like to see where this goes next, then please do subscribe. I'll catch you later.